Oh my god! Thriller, page turner. The characters in it are psychotic. This book. Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. A bitch is back talking about books. And today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm just going to preface by saying I might be behind on my videos just because I had a review made. I made the video, I edited it down, and then as I was doing research about the book, about the publisher, I realized that it might not be the best idea to put this video out and put a review on this book. Because I will link it below, there's a certain boycott happening on certain publishers. They have not been for BIPOC authors, not promoting them as much, and also there were people that work for that publisher who have made statements about a certain genocide happening. That's not something that I can support, and the publisher has been silent about it. The actual author herself, I think, is pro-Palestinian. She has come out as that. If you want to read the book, go ahead and read it, but I will not be doing a review on it because of the boycott. Even though I'm just a tiny little YouTuber, I don't have an influence with this channel, but I just want to kind of respect everybody else who is doing this boycott. I kind of want to stand together with it. Just like how I'm not drinking Starbucks. I haven't touched Starbucks for months. I don't ever touch McDonald's. That's just my little take on that, and my videos might be a little bit late. I might skip a week, or if I can get the videos up on time, I will try to, or they might be a few days late so I can kind of put them out in a timely manner. That is all to say. Let's get into the actual meat of the video. Welcome. What are we doing today? Today is gonna be a little different. We are gonna be doing rapid fire reviews of high school lit books and also middle school literature books. Is the book actually worth the read, or should you just sparknote it in high school? The reason why I came up with this video is because me being 24-year-old woman and a reader, thinking back on my high school days, my middle school days, I regret so much of the types of books I would read. Honestly, I was an avid skimmer in high school. I wouldn't really read the books that we read. I would skim them to get the general sense of what happened in the books, the big plot points, and when we talked about them in class, I would know enough to actually talk about it, but I wouldn't actually fully engage in the reads, fully engage in the books, fully get the story, get the characters. I would not give a flying shit about the books that we read. There were 3 or 4 of them that I absolutely devoured and loved. But overall, I was an avid skimmer. Looking back on it now, I really regret that, because in high school, you don't want to read. You're forced to read. You don't want to do it. I'm looking back at the stories we read and I said, damn, that was such a good read. That was such a good time in my life. Why didn't I put more effort into it? Why didn't I absolutely devour this book? Yeah, this is the reason why I'm doing this video. Also, if you are in high school, if you're watching my videos and you're in high school, you'll know which books are actually good, in my opinion, and which books are not worth your time. And you know, you can just sparknote it. Like whatever gets you through your classes. This is an opinion of someone who is a normal person who loves to read for fun, loves to read books that aren't insanely well written. They can be trashy, they can be very easily digestible reads. I am not the person who will want super poetic writing. Like, I really love that stuff, but I could really care less. As long as I like the story, then I like the book. As long as I like the characters, then I like the book. So that is the opinion you are getting from. So let's start. Are these high school literature books worth the read? Number 1, Atonement by Ian McEwan. I think I'm saying his name correctly, I hope. This book was actually adapted into a movie, and I think a lot more people know about the movie than they do the book. I will put the poster up of the movie. It had Keira Knightley, it had James McAvoy. It created Saoirse Ronan's career, got her an Oscar nomination when she was the age of, I think, 10 years old. One of the youngest Oscar-nominated actresses of her time when it happened in, I believe, 2007, 2008. But this movie was amazing. It was so good. It was so heart-wrenching. It was shocking. It made you feel so many emotions watching it. Imagine the book, Atonement. I would 150% recommend you read this book for yourself. If you're reading this for high school literature class, this is what I read in high school literature class, I highly, highly, highly recommend it because this book is a page turner. You don't want to stop reading it. It is written in a way that is very easily digestible, at least in my opinion. It was so infuriating to read, but it ate down. This story is so good, and I literally remember, it is a core memory of mine, reading this in sophomore year of high school, flipping page after page, page 120 or something like that. Something happens in the beginning of the book. Bryony, fuck that bitch. Fuck Bryony, I hate her. I literally still think about that book like it's ingrained in my memory, and something happens in the book. I threw the book across the room. I said, I cannot read this shit anymore. I am so done. It's like, imagine all of that feeling. That is what you want to feel when you're reading a book. That is the magic of reading, having all these emotions coursing through you about words, about people that do not exist. This feeling was so visceral inside of me when I was reading Atonement that yes, I absolutely 100% recommend you read this book for yourself and actually take your time to do it. I think it's worth the read. Number 2, The Hunger Games. I don't know if everybody read this for middle school, but my middle school, we read it as a class. We listened to the audiobook together. And come on, it's The Hunger Games. Yes, I do highly recommend you read this book. I think it tells a lot about class. It tells a lot about our society, about where our politics can be leading us, about late stage capitalism, all of those things. I think it is a very, very well done dystopian novel that is extremely character driven, so I 150% do recommend you read The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins if you have not read it. You're able to read it for class. I think it is a great read, especially for middle school to early high school readers. The next book I will talk about is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. I'm gonna go through a few William Shakespeare works. I think some of them are worth it. Some of them are actually interesting reads, and some of them aren't. And I have read a lot of plays throughout my lifetime. If you don't know, I was a theater major in college. So I have read a lot of plays. I think some are really important just for historical context. For example, The Seagull, if you've ever heard of it. It's great to read just to get historical context about language and all of that. I think Shakespeare as a whole, he's a little overrated. Not gonna lie, he's a little overrated, but I think he's good in general for understanding language and poetry in a sense. The stories are sometimes dumb. And the stories are sometimes boring. And sometimes I'm just thinking, why am I reading this? Especially the historical ones. I'm just like, who the fuck cares? The only one part of the historical ones that I thought was actually really interesting stories were Hamlet. I think that's worth your time. Also, they're plays, so they're really easy to get through. I think Romeo and Juliet is worth your time. Believe Merchant of Venice. From what I've read, I've only read 4 Shakespeare, 5 of them, because I did Midsummer Night's Dream. Midsummer Night's Dream's stupid. Like, unpopular opinion, I do not care for Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm just like, what is the point? What is the point of this? I don't understand. Hamlet, I thought was a great tragedy. Romeo and Juliet, I love as a romance girly because I think it set the stage for romance stories to happen over and over again, and it's the basis of a lot of different romances we get modern day. This is the same idea that I feel with Cinderella. I think Cinderella as a Grimm's tale, I think it is, and having a basis of a rags to riches story, I think it's worth it just to get the historical context so that you can see the different reimaginings as time goes on. So I do say Romeo and Juliet's worth your time, Hamlet is worth your time, and the one I absolutely positively do not think is worth your time, don't ask me why, I just remember thinking it was so dumb, is King Lear. Like, I don't know why, I just do not remember reading it. I remember reading the first act and being bored, so I just stopped and sparknoted the rest. But I didn't really think King Lear was all that interesting. I think Hamlet was a story that was super interesting, and we watched play after play of them doing it, and if you read Hamlet, it's like, why is King Lear there? I don't know why, to me, King Lear was a lot more boring than Hamlet was. But obviously, please let me know in the comments below about all your opinions on these books. Have you read these books when you were in middle school, high school? Let me know. That is what I think about Shakespeare as a whole. The next book I am gonna say is absolutely positively worth your time. Pick up this book right now. 5 out of 5 star read. When I was reading it, it felt like I was reading it for fun, and it did not feel like I was reading it for a high school literature class. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. There is something laced in between those pages of that book. It was so good. It ain't down. It was so freaking good. It was a page turner. The characters in it are psychotic. I don't even know the messaging of the story. I don't understand why we read it. I think it was for American literature class, so we were reading a lot of American authors. John Steinbeck is known as the American novelist and what being American was, and The Grapes of Wrath, and etc, etc. I've never read The Grapes of Wrath. I couldn't tell you about that. But East of Eden, oh my god. Oh my god. That book is a honker of a book, but trust me, it does not feel like it. It is such a page turner. It gets going with the story. There's a lot of biblical references in it, Cain and Abel, and they were gonna adapt it with Jennifer Lawrence being one of the main characters, and I wish they did it. I wish they did. East of Eden was so good. East of Eden, I swear to god, if there's one thing that you get in this video, it's read that book. It might seem intimidating, but trust me, it is written in a way that is so easy to read. It's so digestible. It does not feel like an English literature book. It does not feel pretentious, and the story was psychotic, and it was so good. I don't even remember what happens in it fully. I just remember enjoying myself wholeheartedly reading that book. So please, 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 if there's anything you take from this video, is read East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Absolutely so good. The next book I want to talk about is The Scarlet Letter. It's so boring. I tried to read this, okay? This was in an era where I was like, I'm gonna actually read these books. It's gonna be great. I read The Scarlet Letter. I got through 2 chapters. The story short, it's probably a good story, but the writing was so boring. It's not a fun read. I don't think it is worth your time. I'm so sorry. You can sparknotes that. A Scarlet Letter, not worth it, boring. Next one. Oh my god. This one is so good. I don't know why I read this book for 7th grade summer. This was our summer homework for 7th grade. We read Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This book, it was so good. A literal thriller, page turner, craziness happening. Why was this book so good? It was a huge book for a 7th grader to read. My 7th grade was on crack. Okay, my 7th grade, I went to a charter school. They were borderline military school. They were so strict, and they gave us insane amount of homework, insane amount of summer reading. This was the one thing I thanked them for. I love this book. I think it is so worth it. Does not even feel it would be for English literature class. I don't know why they chose this for us to read, but if you have the option of reading Jurassic Park, if they make you read books for English class, and one of the options is Jurassic Park, I say you read it because it is so good. It is a thrilling joyride of a book. It obviously created the blockbuster hit Jurassic Park the movie. Imagine the movie and how thrilling and horrific it is in book form. Steven Spielberg did an amazing job adapting it. Imagine the book. Imagine the book. Yes, 100% absolutely read this book. It is so good. If you like thrillers, it is on your toes, page-turning, butt-clenching joyride. I loved it. And I was annoyed that I actually had to read this for English lit class because we had questions for every single chapter. We had to answer questions for every single chapter. There was 60 chapters. So that is almost, it's like 60 times 5 because there was 5 questions a chapter. Insane amount of homework. The most crazy amount of homework I've ever received in middle school. Why did they do this? But I know I was the only ones who actually did it. And I was annoyed that we actually had to read this for class and had to answer those questions because once I finished the chapter, I wanted to keep going and I wasn't allowed to because I had to finish answering the questions first. And I was so frustrated. It was like blue balling me. I just wanted to know what happened next. So I do recommend Jurassic Park. The next book would be To Kill a Mockingbird. Is this book worth the read? I think it is a little slow, so it's hard to get into, but it's a great book. It is written well. It tells so much about race in America. I love the mystery aspect of it. I do recommend that you actually take your time and spend reading it because it is a classic for a reason. I think it is a great book. I wish that I could go back and actually fully put my whole chest into reading this book because for the most part, I skimmed it. I didn't really read it fully, and that might actually, I might put that on my list of wanting to read this book again because there's just so much complexity in the work, in injustice, in race, in everything like that. So I do recommend it. As a young reader, the messaging of the book doesn't really hit home, so I wouldn't recommend it if you're in middle school because I think I was trying to read it when I was in middle school and it didn't really make sense to me when I was that age. I think looking back on it now and seeing the full picture of discrimination, everything like that about the book, I think if I were to go back and put my whole chest into reading this book, it would be a really great read. It would be really engaging. It would be at least a 4 out of 5 star read for me. So I do highly recommend it. I think it is an important work. It talks a lot about American society and American history and discrimination in America and literature in America. That is if you are in America, because I know I have a lot of viewers who are from other countries, but that is what I will say about To Kill a Mockingbird. It talks a lot about those topics that are really, really important for us to understand as young people. So yes, To Kill a Mockingbird, I would recommend it. Do I think it's the most page-turning book ever? Do I think you are gonna be, oh my god, turning page after page after page? No, it's not really a page-turner, but do I think it's really thought-provoking and does it speak a lot to your soul and it makes you think a lot about society and life? Yes, I do think that, so I think it's worth the read. I don't think it's a page turner, but I wouldn't know because it's been so long since I've read it. But from what I remember, that is what I'll say about it. I'm just gonna talk about one more book. And if I do a part 2 to this video, the videos are gonna be so all over the place because I just wanted to talk about the books I absolutely devoured and loved to read. And I kind of did that all in one video because I talked a lot about the books that I really liked reading when I was in high school. But the last one, I swear, it is also so good and one of the most perfect high school reads ever. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Literally so fucking good. For what reason? Why did it have to be so good? Is there a point to the book? I don't know. I just remember them being in the mental institution and them being treated so badly and Miss Ratched being an iconic character and the movie being insanely amazing. Think about all of the movies that were adapted from these classic books. If the movies are so good, the books have to be amazing, right? And this book is a testament to that. Like, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I don't know what was in that book. It's not the insane page turner like Jurassic Park was. It's not infuriating like Atonement was, but did I have a very fun time reading it? Did I think that this book was so interesting? Absolutely, positively, yes. I think One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, if you are in a reading slump, this could get you out of it if you're okay with contemporary literature. Or I guess now, since it was written back in the 60s, it would be considered classical literature. But in the 60s, it was contemporary literature, you know what I mean? I think it was really good. I think it's iconic. I think the characters are well done. And the end of this book is so bittersweet. The way that this book ends is ingrained in your memory. It's just heart-wrenching in a way. I really liked it. I'm not 100% sure if there are racist undertones in here because there are Native American people in the book. One of the main characters, I believe from what I remember, his name is Chief. He's Native American, and being a book from the 60s, I don't really remember. Were they being racist? Probably. I can't remember the full extent of plot of this book, but it's worth your time reading. The movie's great as well. The characters, evilness of Nurse Ratched, the iconicness of that character is worth it within itself. All of the characters in the book are just so memorable. I don't remember the story, but I remember the characters. So if you're a character-driven reader, I'm positive this would be a great book for you. One Flew Over this Cuckoo's Nest. Absolutely, positively, I recommend it as a book to read, even if you are forced to read it for high school literature. That is going to be it for this video. I hope this format made sense of books that I highly recommend you read for English Lit class, and those you can just pass. You don't really have to read it. Not really worth your time. A lot of them, I thought, yeah, it is kind of worth your time. Shakespeare, 50-50 if it's worth your time, but they're also plays, so they're really quick to read. That is it for today's video. Please, please, please let me know your thoughts below on what you thought of my list. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, of other books that you read for English Lit class that you would like me to talk about, mention them below and I will try to get to them. And so, yeah, that is it for today's video. I have a long list of books that I read for English class that I will probably do a part 2 and a part 3 too. So let me know if you'd like that. I will do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.